Oh my gosh. Hi guys. I don't know if everybody can hear the jazzy live music that plays us in, but that's how you know you are here tuning into Raw Artists live stream. Welcome to Industry Exchange. My name is Meghan Jones, and joining me today on Industry Exchange, we are speaking with the owner of Artspace Warehouse, Claudia Deutsch. She runs one of the largest art galleries here in LA, which features affordable, original, contemporary art. So visit artspacewarehouse.com. You can also follow them on Instagram. Everybody's on Instagram. And that's Artspace Wear to see all the featured works that are out there. Make sure you follow them, follow their journey. It's really important, especially for everybody who's local here to LA. But of course, as always, if you want to be staying in tune with what we are doing here at Raw Artists, make sure you're following the hashtag Raw Artists. And of course, for today, hashtag Industry Exchange is where you can find all of the good stuff we're going to be talking about. So Claudia, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Megan.
That. I'm sure our viewers are definitely curious. Who is Claudia Deutsch? How did you get into the crazy art world, especially here in LA?
So I actually grew up with a family in the art world. So my mother started her first gallery when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
In Basel, Switzerland. Everybody knows Basel because of the big art fair.
The art, yeah,
the original one. And so I grew up in the madness of Basel.
Wow.
And all all it entails every year. I still didn't think I would ever end up in the art market, but then living here, working for a lot of charities, networking, and then finding out that there is really not that much art, affordable art in LA or around the world is very difficult to find. I opened Artspace Warehouse about 9 years ago. And delved into it, full steam.
Yeah.
And it became so successful. I opened another gallery just a few months ago.
Yeah. So how do you think, you saw that need, how do you think that Artspace, how does that fit into the current landscape of LA's art community?
It's a different concept in a way where art is a luxury. When you go shopping, you buy. Most people they first go, spend money on your home, on cars, on clothes, entertainment, so on, so on, so on. Art is one of the
low on the priority list.
Yeah. In the United States.
Yes.
In Europe, it has a slight different priority.
I mean.
And when you go luxury shopping, let's say you go into a brand name store, even it could be very expensive. Everything has a price tag. You can go like expensive shoe shopping and you look and it's like, oh my God, I can't afford this.
Yeah, I'm putting down that shoe.
But in the art world, there's not been any galleries, where you can go in and you see the prices right away. You always have to ask, for a list, and it's a little bit, more not very welcome.
Yeah.
So I try to change that, make it more approachable. And also to give people more security of when they come, they know what to expect.
Yeah, I think being transparent, right? Like with your consumers, it's like, I think that really, creates, open door communication and people feel like, okay, I am more likely to buy this. Like, I don't feel like you're trying to get one over on me, or sometimes just seeing a number, they can equate a value right away and have that instant connection. Yeah. So that's super smart. I mean, just kind of right off the bat.
Yeah, and then also, when you work with artists, you always work as a team on where they are in their career in terms of prices, and you make sure that that level is transparent and it's the same all over the world.
Yeah.
So, people, collectors who buy an artist's works in London or in Hong Kong, is going to be the same price as it is in Los Angeles. So when they travel here, they expect that, they come in and right away it's like, it's a validation, and people feel very comfortable in that sense.
Yeah. That's very interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the services that Artspace Warehouse provides to the artists that you work with?
So a lot of artists, because we work with a lot of emerging artists, we have actually worked even with artists who have
emerging artists. That's you guys.
Who actually have exhibited with Raw. There was one artist a few years ago. I was a judge on one of the Raw events, and my favorite one was a runner-up, who was actually very disappointed that she didn't win. But I thought, she was my favorite, so I approached her and in a very short time gave her a little bit more of an intro to the market, and was able to exhibit her worldwide in our gallery in Zurich, at art fairs in Hong Kong, and even having a platform for emerging artists, showing them worldwide there's very few galleries in the world that have that capability, and so we do that. When we have a gallery in Zurich, that a lot of the artists that we feel would be right for the European market, we help them, with that entry to that market, and we work very closely, with the artists. Basically, it's coming just like educating them on how to present an artwork. Just like the basics. How to wire an artwork.
That's amazing though, because and I think that with Raw we've found that as well. Is like sometimes this is their first art show. Sometimes this is their first any type of this, or maybe this is the first time somebody's actually seeing their work. So it's things like that really kind of set you apart from others, and I think that's important, because those are great tools to how to get into galleries. So I guess let's discuss that. What can visual artists work on to get into galleries? Where do you kind of start with that?
Well, we have a submission link, for example, on our website, and we always encourage artists, to look at that, because we say exactly, what we're looking for, and of course, art is visual. So if an artist just emails us a website, most of the time we don't have the time to look at every website. We can have days, you get sometimes 10 submissions a day. So you add that up, 300 submissions a month. It's difficult to look at each one of them, but we do want to look at each one of them. We really want those submissions, because that's one of the best ways for us to find a new artist that fits into our galleries. But when we receive submissions, and there's like 4 or 5 photos, they're not 10 megabytes, so it doesn't take us like all the bandwidth to open them. But you can just flick through them, and people actually give us the information, like the size, the media, when it was painted, and the price.
So all those details
It's very
important.
easy. You can just do either one attachment, or you just write it in the email, and then we can scan over it, and those are the artists that we have much easier understanding what it is. If we have to go back and ask the artist, what is the size of this, and what media do you do? Is this a one of a kind? Is this a multiple? Many times we rather just want to have this up front, and many artists don't understand that you have to give that
in order to kind of like move forward. And I think that that's some really great advice on just approaching galleries, right? Is like, do your homework for them. Don't make the gallery really have to do the homework. It's also being prepared as an artist, right? Being educated on your own work, so you can properly communicate to industry professionals that you're trying to work with, like, oh, this is what my art is, this is when I created it. So those are really great kind of tips on that. I guess, like, how do you choose when it comes down to that, when you're reviewing everything, how do you choose who to represent? Like, what does that necessarily come down to? I guess maybe because you would hate to think that you might skip over somebody because they don't have that. So what do you...
When you have a gallery and you're working with many different artists, one of the things is, and that's important for artists to know, that you're not necessarily looking for an artist who does exactly something that another artist does in a different way. So if, there's a gallery that already has somebody who works in oils, in primary colors, in cityscapes, and you're, as an artist, submit something in that genre, very unlikely, that you will be able to, exhibit with us. The same thing when there's certain genres that are, just not as unique, like let's go the other way. The most interesting ones are the artists that go, like in a different direction,
like conceptually or with their medium or both, anything.
We just started working with an artist recently from Canada. She actually approached us in New York at an art fair. She came to us, and I had in the back of my mind, I already knew what she was doing because she had submitted to us. But I didn't get back, and then she came in person. I was like, oh my God, I remember exactly what it was. And it's still acrylic paint, but it's like sliced in a different way, and the composition is a very, very new way of how she creates these artworks. Many times that's what we're looking for, somebody who has a voice that is very unique and not necessarily another artist who does something similar to Banksy or similar, to Alec Monopoly. It's just, it's great when artists, go like beyond that. Yeah,
outside of the box for that, and I guess really like own their uniqueness and their originality.
And sometimes the same thing is when we receive a submission and an artist goes like, hey, here's my 5 different styles. And all we think is like, maybe, find the style that really speaks to you, that you can develop. Or if you want to submit 2 or 3, try it in different emails, So it's like you send us one email and this is that style. It's like, okay, I can see your voice, but maybe you, instead of just speaking in English, you also speak French.
Right.
So, so then, give me that other voice, but give it to me in a separate email, or send me another email next month, that you just...
Yeah, like just kind of your pitching, like, hey, this is the concept behind this. Because I can see that also might be a deterrent why you might hesitate working with an artist if like they can't really focus and focus their energy in on one thing. It kind of makes it seem like, oh, they might be all over the place, and you definitely want that message to be very fluid and kind of come through on that. So
and then the same thing, like when you look at their website, afterwards, if you find someone interesting, that again, whatever they sent you really is reflected on their website too, on the Instagram page. It makes it easier to really see like what they're about.
So you hear that, guys. Have a clear, consistent message when it comes to approaching galleries. That seems to be the idea that I'm getting here. And just in your artwork in general. So once you're selected, I guess, can you shed some light on how to best work with a gallery? Like once you're selected, what the kind of the next steps are in that?
When you work with the gallery, it's always important, to find out, what the gallery is looking for, focusing. We specifically feature every artist at least every 18 months in a group exhibition.
Okay, cool.
So we make sure they have that exposure. And then communication is very critical, that it's communication both ways. Sometimes for us it takes a lot of time to really catch up. I mean, to tell them what's going on. So artists sometimes we hope that they're patient with us.
Yeah.
But we do send newsletters out for them specifically, and.
Okay, we're getting a question from the audience.
And it's also just important that the artist is always sending us new materials.
Yeah,
so
and like keeping you in the know.
We want to know what the artist is working on. This way it's the communication, and sometimes it is difficult for both sides. There are sometimes when we are at art fairs or the artist is traveling. So
keeping up on your emails, checking your emails would be a very good thing. And I think it's about the long game, right? It's like I think that's very hard sometimes in this social media driven.
Yeah, and it's nice to know from our artists, what their goals are. We have had some artists, where their goal is to have a solo exhibition. Their goal is to exhibit in Hong Kong. And so we also then advise them, for example, we hardly ever do a solo exhibition. So it's very difficult for us, to accommodate that, but we do special events for artists.
Okay.
And then when it comes to art fairs, what's very interesting is that certain markets, certain styles work much better. They resonate more with the local people in Hong Kong or in Hamburg, or when we exhibit them in London. Some artists get disappointed that they're not chosen to be shown at an art fair, but we also don't want to have them disappointed for us taking art there and bringing it back where it doesn't sell. So it's it's kind of both. We have to weigh everything.
Yeah, you have to have that. It's a good, gotta foster that relationship. So we got a question from the audience, and just so you guys are aware, I hope you're writing in and sharing your love. This is some really great insight here with Claudia Deutsch, who's with Artspace Warehouse here in LA, and we definitely want to keep this going. But so real quickly, is social media a factor in your selection process? Are you more likely to look at a website, or is Insta better? And then we'll get to the second question.
Okay, so we always look at the Instagram pages.
Instagram.
It is. It's definitely one of our number one places, because what's fun is you see not only the artist's final works, but you see like when the progress are shots. So,
whip it, y'all. Works in progress.
Yeah, and you actually see them, in the studio, and those are the things that for us makes it artists more approachable. We kind of see, oh, okay, this is how they work, and we love when we have some feedback like on that part.
Yeah, I guess it gives you a better feeling of like the art, like where that art is coming from, right? How they kind of got to that place. So it's really interesting. Okay, so Instagram is where it's at. Make sure you guys are taking those studio pictures and those work in progress, because obviously it's making a difference. So another great question here from the audience: is there a minimum quantity of pieces to determine if an artist will fit in with your gallery? Great question.
We always say 6.
6. All right, 6 completed works. Should it be a series or okay?
What happens is, what artists a lot of times forget is there is a practical side to art also. So we have clients coming in, and if we have an artist and all they make is horizontal works, let's say 2x4. It's like going into a store and everything is size 8.
Yeah.
And then let's say the artist's favorite color is red, and every artwork has red, and we have this client coming in and they come to us, and we get this a lot. It's like, oh my god, I love this art so much. Do you have something in a 4x4, or do you have something in a vertical? Do you have something with blue? And then I go, sorry, but the artist just
That's that.
That's that. So yes, some artists, yes, okay, there's exceptions. I mean, some literally it's their signature. They do everything in blue. But across the way, I would always say for artists, it's great to go in different sizes because not everybody is looking for the big artwork above their sofa.
Yes.
Somebody has a small wall, they want to fill it with something, and maybe that's all they have left in their house or in their home. So they're not going to buy anything because this is the size that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so artists who generally have like a few more sizes do better. So you have like 2 that are 24 by 24, 2 that are 3 by 4. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's good to have some variety. So when you have 6, you can have 2 of one size, 2 of another, 2 of a third size.
Yeah.
And then when you display them, it also looks cohesive.
Yeah.
So it's not like 1 of every size. But
right. But at these kind of
3
slow
and 3
gradient of sizes.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me into my next question here with online sales. Have online art sales influenced the market, and I guess how do you see that impacting artists? Because being from the gallery space, then going online, very interesting with that.
Yeah. So what happens is, of course, a lot of our clients, I would say everybody goes online nowadays. So they find an artist, let's say on our website, then they start researching their artist. What's always important for artists is to have a cohesive message on Instagram, on every, all their websites and, Pinterest and whatever, they want to post on. Because clients and collectors also, feel like they invest in the person, in the artist personally. And if they see discrepancies, a lot of times they back away.
Okay.
So let's say, they see, oh my God, there's this artwork from the artist and it's like, 20-50% off, somewhere else. And they say, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't invest in this artist because it's not the right thing. It's not worth investing. If it's like all of a sudden it's Black Friday sale or something like that. So it's a very fine line. Sometimes we say, okay, maybe something can be reduced somewhat in the price to get more collectors to look at it. But you have to have a very fine line that it doesn't devalue the artist. And so the artist also has to make sure that everything looks okay the same way.
Okay.
And there's always clients that test, so they send emails and things like that. And
very interesting.
And then sometimes if they get conflicting messages, they come to us. It's like, we got this and this back, and why is this? Is this artist not worth it?
Yeah.
And so.
So be clear and concise online.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Consistent.
Because that's definitely going to affect. Having that. Having the ability, I guess, to have online sales, right? Really does open you up to a lot of potential. But if you are going to be serious, you can't have your thing on Etsy for $5 and then with the gallery for more
websites
expensive.
You have to be careful because we've had clients coming in, collectors, and says, oh my God, I found this artist now on Etsy. And it's like,
interesting. So you have to be careful where you're putting your thing.
Certain websites, it's like when it's the artist's own website, they feel like, okay, this is cool,
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, it's been on Etsy. And it's like, okay, it's just there's certain perceptions.
Yeah, that perception about it. Very interesting.
Like it's just another website. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like, Okay, I think this will be the last question, unfortunately. We're going to have to take, we don't have a lot of time, and we've got a lot of things to cover here, still with Claudia. Make sure you're hashtagging Industry Exchange, though, by the way, to stay up to date. So anything else artists are doing that's doing more damage than good? Okay, that was a little tough one to swallow there. Sorry, guys. That's an interesting question. No. Okay, nothing comes to mind.
The best thing is always to have a good communication and just to be open about what's going on. I think one damage, yes, we have had some artists.
You're like, I'm thinking about it now.
Thinking about it.
Yeah,
when they come and says, oh yes, I now instead of selling my art for $1,000, I'm going to sell it for $10,000 because you know, I think I can get that. And we're like, good luck.
Yeah, like, okay.
Maybe don't just, go up a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's see where we're going.
Yeah.
But we've seen some artists where it goes like this, because the higher your prices go, you really have to be with the right type of gallery that can defend those prices.
The reason for them charging that much, right.
And I think one of the problems sometimes what is with artists, that the pricing is not really what the market, will carry.
Yeah, and is reflective of
and
that.
You have to be very, very conscious of the pricing.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, just don't go walking into some gallery after you've been with them for like 6 months and say, it's kind of like walking into your boss's office after 6 months and saying, I deserve a $5 raise just because I'm me, right? We can't do that. So, so the last couple of questions here, and that's, has me curious then, to kind of tag back on how you were saying, having a couple of different size options. Are there any styles or sizes or materials that are currently more popular than others? That's kind of what's going on in that space.
So you have the Asian market loves pop art.
Okay.
The West Coast, United States still, there's a lot of demand for pop art.
Okay.
Germany, we have a lot more demand for minimalism.
Okay.
Depending on what market you go, it's so special.
Yeah.
In England, half of the artworks are framed.
Ah.
Here, most of it is unframed.
Unframed. Okay. No, this is all very interesting insight. Like I had no idea. I mean, it kind of goes to, figures. We were kind of talking a little bit beforehand about reality TV and things like that, how pop art and, pop culture is definitely very influential in all of our lives. So it makes sense that everywhere that's kind of the way to go.
In terms of materials, there's really always been a trend for using materials in a very unique and different ways, where it's not just the acrylic on canvas, but certain textures. I think texture is in general a trend to set artists apart from prints. And people, we have had some very, very successful artists from 10 years ago where they did really well, but because their canvases look too much like prints, people lost interest in them. And I kept telling some of them, I said, you have to go, if you can.
Yeah, more depth creates that texture.
Just, subtle.
Yeah.
Subtle, I mean,
Yeah.
But, that's people look for, unique, one-of-a-kind originals. Okay. And sometimes, that's like one of the determining factors.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm getting word from our industry, from our industry exchange producers. It seems that our audience is like super curious, lots of questions about how to present their 2 to 3 varying styles without looking messy or inconsistent.
Okay, so when you have your own website, you can, just split them apart.
Okay.
And you say, this is my abstract series, my figurative series, and my third series. When you submit in an email, just do a submission, like 1 month, and
so just kind of keep it as separate as possible.
And then just do another submission the next month. When you are, a big gallery and you receive hundreds of submissions every month, we will not necessarily remember the name of the person, but it's a visual.
Right.
And if it's 1 month, we receive something and, it doesn't work with our program. And we receive something completely different the next month. For us, it's like that visual that we're like, oh my God, this is this is interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe like the month before we didn't, think of it.
Exactly.
So sometimes it is easier for us to, get very specific targeted emails.
Yeah. Okay. So keep things separate, guys. Keep those. It's very multifaceted, right? You have to have a clear, concise idea of what your objective is and what you're doing, and then kind of keeping it separate, keeping those ideas separate if you do have 2 to 3 types of collections that you're working
Yeah,
with.
sometimes they're very different. And then
Okay, well, there is honestly not enough time in the entire world for me to continue to talk with you, Claudia, but this was fascinating for me. Any final words of wisdom for beginning artists who are like mid-career artists, anywhere in the in-between? Any final words?
We just love looking at these submissions. And
Excellent.
so, never be shy. Just submit. And if we don't hear back, we actually have submissions from years ago that we keep in there just because like at that time there was no fit.
It just didn't work.
And then we go back to them later and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, remember that?
Yeah. So be persistent, be consistent, and go check out Artspace. And you can find them at Artspace Wear on Instagram. You can go to check out their website as well. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Claudia.
Thank
it was
you,
such a pleasure. And thanks for all you guys for watching, sending us your questions. I'm so glad you had so many for Claudia today. Next month is a real treat though. I am going to be chatting with none other than the CEO, Heidi Luera. They're celebrating their 10th birthday, 10 years. Raw has been around. So that's an amazing feat, something that I am proud to have been a part of for quite, the majority of that time, for about 8 years. But we are going to be here live next month. So make sure you tune back in 2 p.m. PST on Tuesday, March 26th. That's when you can watch us and we'll get the lowdown and the nitty gritty from Heidi. Thanks you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next month. Bye.